Rubbish!
There's buggers over here.
Back outside. This is the point where he always hits it. Oh! Aaron Harrison beyond belief.
We did it. We beat those British
We beat the British. Second Cornwallis.
10 kids. You're basically pregnant for 20 years. Pregnant or breastfeeding. Just wild. Like, that sounds exhausting.
Potheads. What an adorable bunch of people.
Woodson from the gun. Play fake. Step it up. He's throwing deep down the near sideline. He's got Johnson. 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Kentucky!
Jesus, Rash, get it together.
Yeah, right.
It's game day. Come on.
Welcome to Kentucky Roll Call with Walker and Roush.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday to you, July 7th, 2025. You're listening to Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio. 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Was having a brief issue with my headphones. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, you got to see that. Still having issues with it, as a matter of fact. But welcome on in. I'll tweet out that YouTube stream. Nick Roush and TJ Walker here with you on your Monday. Good to be back on the YouTube. Good to be back on air. Haven't done radio since Wednesday of last week when we were out at Powder Keg Fireworks and doing the snapper pops. Those were a lot of fun. I had a blast. We had so much fun out there on Wednesday. Had a great 4th of July weekend. We have much to discuss, much to catch up on. Nick Roush, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Fired up to be back in action. I thought I was going to do the thing where I didn't remember the code to get in here because it's been almost a week. But it was fun getting on the road, going to Powder Keg, eating some Barry's cheesesteaks.
So good.
It was one of those things, too, where it's so good and you eat it so fast and you're just like, oh, no. Am I going to be able to do anything the rest of the day? But we got it done. We had a nice little weekend. How was your? And did you celebrate the red, white, and blue, Mr. Sports Talker?
Oh, these colors don't run, baby. You know that. Yes, absolutely. We had a nice. It just went by too quickly. Just want to the wife got off early on Thursday, so we were able to hang out for a little bit. Then, so it kind of just feels like it was I didn't have the radio show on Thursday, so it really did. It felt like a weekend getaway where we didn't really do any getting away, but celebrating our great country, celebrating with friends, family. Just not the best weekend from a health standpoint, from a food. No. Just I really was pretty gluttonous all weekend. Candy, snacks. My neighbor did a
sounds like a good weekend.
It was great. Oh yeah, absolutely. And but just probably ate too much. Need to get back, kick the body back into high gear this week. But the neighbor grilled out. We provided the desserts straight from Plynn's Bakery. Shout out to Plynn's, best bakery in town. And he did burgers, dogs, ribs. I mean, you name a meat, and he had that bad boy up and cooking. It was just a wholesome weekend, Roush, and I want to give a big shout out to Powder Keg Fireworks. Your one-stop shop, and we mean that. You don't need to go anywhere else. They hooked us up. When we left the show on Wednesday, again, noon to 2 here on Big X Sports Radio, part of nearly 12 hours of great local programming throughout the day. When we left and handed the keys over to Roman on Wednesday, and then Mike Rutherford a little bit later, they had, Roush, a huge thing of fireworks for us. But I guess since we got out of there early, they didn't know if we were hanging around all day or whatnot was going on. When we left, I didn't know about these fireworks. They gave us actually a few as I was walking out the door, a cute little rubber ducky and then a purple minion, which I was like, the daughter is going to love these two. And by the way, both those fireworks were fan favorites at the firework party on 4th of July, the rubber ducky and the minion. But anyways, when we were leaving, that was that. I get a call from Mike Rutherford a little bit later. Hey, they left out this ginormous package of fireworks for you. Do you want it or do you not want it? And he said, I think Roman didn't want it, but somebody else did want it. So if you don't want it, no big deal. If you do want it, let me know and I'll make sure we get it to you one way or another. And I was like, what? Powder Keg, they were nice enough to have us out there. We had Barry's cheesesteaks, just an all-around great day. Shout out to the listeners that came out, spun the wheel, got some free fireworks out there. We had a blast, but on top of that, They're giving us, which Roush, I would guess was like $300 in free fireworks, maybe more, maybe up to $500 worth of free fireworks. I couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it. I was like, are you sure, Mike? Seriously? They're giving this to us? And he was like, yeah, for doing the radio show out here and promoting. They said that they had great foot traffic and they wanted to give you some fireworks. I was like, well, yeah, I want them. That's nice of them. I'm going to take them up on it. I do want them. How do I get them? Do I need to head back out there? Mike said, I got them. I'll come drop them off to you because Mike Rutherford's a stand-up guy. Roush, those fireworks, did you get them? First off, is this ringing a bell to you? Were you offered the free fireworks?
Yes, I was offered, but I don't think I saw one firework this weekend. Maybe one off in the distance. But
What?
Yeah, my kids were whooped. We were at the pool from 2 to 8, so like they just crashed. And yeah, I was pretty tired too. I cut grass earlier that day, so I heard plenty of fireworks.
Oh my goodness!
But I did not see any, and that was part of my reason why I wasn't like jumping to go get a bunch of fireworks. It's like my kids, they can't. If they do stay up that late, they're just going to be jerks the next day because they're going to be tired. So we were not going to do the fireworks. I mean, because it takes to what, like 9:30 before you can really see them.
Yeah, so that's actually this goes into story time. I hate having to interject and say you missed out a little bit, and I get it. I kind of had the same. We're not firework people. If anything, you've heard us on Kentucky Roll Call saying, "All right, we love America." I grew up a huge firework kid. The M3000s, we'd have a blast. I told some of those stories the past week. We'd always do fireworks. Then you see the price of the fireworks. And you're like, I'm maybe not so much a firework guy anymore. Mm-hmm. They're very expensive. Or if you have a dog or you have small kids or whatever it may be, not big firework people. But Roush, if you're going to give me free fireworks, the little kid in me was like, oh, I'm back to being a firework guy. I'm back at it again. It was probably a 3 or 4 foot tall box of fireworks, just filled to the brim. And we get out to the party on Friday. My neighbor's like, I just went up to Kroger. They had this little thing for sale. It was $40, $50. And Roush, it was a cute little package of fireworks. They had fountains and little smoke bombs and stuff like that.
Right.
It was what's legal in Kentucky.
Yeah, which they don't explode. They just make flames.
Perfect. Yes, perfectly said.
Mm-hmm.
Counterpeg fireworks isn't in Kentucky. That's in Indiana. And they've got the big old boys. So we did those, and that was, like, nice for the kids. They liked it. Our neighbors were like, what time do you think we can get the fireworks going? 6 o'clock? I was like, 6 o'clock? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're not going to be able to see anything. Like, if you want to just do maybe some sparklers or something, like, right. Some cracker pops or whatever, or snap pops or whatever, that's fine. But, like, if you want to be able to enjoy the fireworks, I'd say at the earliest is going to be 9 o'clock. And it's not even dark at 9 o'clock, but it's at least darker. And they're like, oh, okay, we're not big firework people. We're not 100% sure. So I think Roush was around 8:30, where it's kind of like we had been playing outside all day. You could see the kids were ready. We just needed to get their focus on something else. So that's when we started. We should have started earlier. The amount of fireworks Powder Keg gave us, we weren't finished lighting off fireworks till probably about 10:30. It took us that long just to go get another one, light it, go get another one. And if it were just me, and there was probably, by the end of it, Roush, the entire neighborhood, I mean, we probably had 50 to 75 people in our little court watching these fireworks, and I think maybe like only about 20 of them were actually with the party. Mm-hmm. If I was just running the show all by myself, I'd be getting some mortars going off at the same time. I'd be getting, like, it would have been a bit more of a production, but also admittedly probably would have been a little less safe. And safety was going to be a big factor in all this. It just took us forever to go get one and light it off. So shout out to Powder Keg Firework. They were huge. They were loud. They put on a show for the entire neighborhood. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. My neighbor afterwards was like, all right, well, I think we've set a precedent here. I think we're now the fireworks for the neighborhood. And I was like, no, not unless I get them for free again. Maybe I'll buy it.
Now you're the firework out.
Maybe I'll buy some of them because Powder Keg, they did do such a great job. I just don't have the money for that kind of show. And people came up afterwards. They were like, man, that was incredible. Those were some of the ones you'd see at Thunder over Louisville. And I gave them a shout out. Powder Keg Fireworks. That's where you go and that's where you get them. But it took forever. It was quite the show. I looked like I jumped in a pool. I was so sweaty. But we had just the best 4th of July I've ever had in my entire life. I was saying that to the wife afterwards, and you could like just tell she was like, "All right, shut up." Like, why was it? What? The kids were able to enjoy it. The 1-year-old was asleep, but the 3-year-old stayed up for all of it, Roush. The latest that she's ever stayed up. She slept in until probably about 9:30 the next day.
Which was shocking.
Incredible. I know. I was so surprised.
Because that's the deal that my parents, they say all the time. Well, they'll sleep in. They don't. They never sleep in. Like, maybe if you go on vacation and you just kind of do it over a few days, they'll start to sleep in. But if I kept my kids up till 9, 10 o'clock, they're still awake before 7 a.m.
We've never had that correlation where like, all right, they're up a little bit later, maybe they'll sleep a little bit later. No, they wake up when they wake up. Maybe within like a 30-minute window, they'll sleep a little bit later some days. But if they're sleeping past 8 o'clock, they're probably sick or something's wrong. That just doesn't happen. But it did. And I don't know, Roush. It was just it felt like the movie The Sandlot, when they're running and they're playing baseball, but the fireworks are just so jaw-dropping they even have to take a break from the baseball and all those shenanigans. There's something about fireworks for kids, for adults, and we got so many great pictures of just the kids and even some of the adults just looking up fireworks that adults have seen 1,000 times over. But it was just a very wholesome weekend, Roush. A good Americana, wholesome weekend. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky. And you get back into work on Monday, and you're like, wait, what? Where'd the weekend go? I want to do that again. But I think that's a sign of a good weekend. I think it shows that you're living life the right way or as well as we can. But can't say enough good things. I know that was a long way to say, like, hey, we had a barbecue and set off fireworks. But it was just really great. And I do want to thank the folks at Powder Keg Fireworks for helping make the show so special. But can't say enough good things about our weekend, our country, and the show we've got set out for you today and really the entire week. I know it's summer radio. Today ain't going to feel like summer radio, Roush. We're still doing afternoon pleasantries and delights. I've got some other weekend stories because it was a long weekend to talk about. But we will get into a lot of sports talk, and I just want to give a tip of the cap to you and your website. You all had an incredible weekend from a content standpoint.
Thank you.
It is hard just to get anything out around this time of the year. Trust me, I know, being in the business for as long as I was. A commitment from the quarterback that we're going to talk about, that helps. Big. That's big. But even besides that, you all had a good weekend. I felt like I was checking my phone more than I needed to because I felt like I didn't need to at all. However, every time I kept refreshing Kentucky Sports Radio, you all had some good stuff going on. There's a lot to discuss today.
Well, I appreciate it. Can I start with a hot take?
Please. The weather.
That's what we normally do is we rank the seasons. Let's rank the holidays because I think I'm putting July 4th last.
Wow, you really, we had
Fresh off of it.
Opposite weekend.
Fresh off of it.
I'm riding high. I've got my Uncle Sam hat on, singing Yankee Doodle Dandy, and you're over here saying,
humbug.
Yeah, all right, well, hit me with
and
it.
it's mostly just because it's pretty much like any other weekend in the summer. It's just you get an extra day off and there's fireworks.
Sure.
I mean, that when you look around like, oh, yeah, we had a big cookout. It's like, well, you cook out all the time at the pool or at the lake. Like, it's not – there wasn't much different. My highlight of the weekend was actually taking we did the pool party, and it was great. Like, that was a lot of fun. But, it's your run-of-the-mill sort of pool party. Everything went well. But I really enjoyed – we went out to Floyd's Fork and let the kids kind of play in the creek. And that was the first time we had done that. And, I mean, they had a ball. Some of the time they were stacking up rocks to try to build like a pool. At one point, Frank was just like letting the creek like blow him down the stream, like going over the rapids and stuff. He thought that was hilarious. It's a fine summer weekend, but when it comes to holidays, all of the other holidays have so much more going for it. I mean, even just Labor Day. Well, the 4th of July is a worse Labor Day because you get to watch people eat hot dogs or college football. Which one's better? Give me the college football. Weather's about the same, right? If you're stacking them up, there's not much that makes it special other than lighting off fireworks, which, it'll be cooler. I know I'm in the point in my life where it's not that great. We were going to go to the fireworks show Thursday night. My mom was like, yeah, come on out. I'm like, Mom, we're going to get there at 6:45. They normally getting ready for bed at 7:15. This is not, we'll go eat at Chick-fil-A, we'll go home, they'll get to bed at a normal time. Like, it's just not, the fireworks are not staying up late for that is not in the cards for us right now in the middle of July. Now, maybe thunder, I can get him Thunder maybe because it's a little bit earlier start time. But it's just 4th of July. You know what? Celebrate America all you want, but worst holiday we celebrate. And I'm not including Valentine's Day because, like, come on. We all know that's objectively the worst.
Nick Roush, according to U.S. adult citizens, what do they have ranked as their number one holiday? According to YouGov.com.
It would be Christmas number 1. I'm gonna say Halloween 2. It was Thanksgiving 2.
Yeah, actually, according to this poll, USGov.com, U.S. adult citizens, and they do break it down by men and women, and there actually is a difference between men and women, but just lumping them together as U.S. adult citizens, Christmas and Thanksgiving both tied at number 1. But men have Thanksgiving ahead of Christmas, and women have Christmas ahead of Thanksgiving.
I can see that just from a stress level deal for both sides, right? Like,
but
women are typically can be stuck with the responsibility of doing Thanksgiving dinner. Christmas, you've got all the toys and everything and all the stress that comes with it. If you ask kids, I bet kids would say Christmas and then Halloween is their one, too.
All right, good news is I've already misread the poll. It is Christmas. 36% of people say that Christmas is their favorite day of the year. Okay. Number 2 is Thanksgiving.
Okay.
23% of American adult citizens say Thanksgiving is their favorite day of the year. Roush, can you guess third?
Halloween.
Yes.
15%
say it's their favorite day of the year. I don't know if I'd say any of these 3 are my favorite day of the year. What is your favorite day of the year? It's a tough question, I suppose.
Typically, Christmas Eve has all the excitement. Like that, the kind of build-up reaches a crescendo Christmas Eve.
I'm probably with you on that. Is that, because I think initially it'd be like, my daughter's birthday is my favorite day of the year. But I've got 2 daughters, which, it's like I can't pick between the 2 of them.
Yep.
However, I do know Christmas Eve, both those little girls are going to be jazzed up out the wazoo. So, yeah, I think I'm probably going Christmas Eve as well if I'm just have to pick. Or can I be very egotistical and say my birthday is my favorite day of the year? March 11th, nothing bad's ever happened on that day. You're right in the thick of March Madness. Anyways, I digress. Halloween is third. Where do you think 4th of July is, Roush? Does anybody say 4th of July is their favorite day of the year?
I would say that would be 4th.
It is. So 12% of people say 4th of July is their favorite day of the year. 12% of people say New Year's Eve is their favorite day of the year. 12% of people say New Year's Day is their favorite day of the year.
Interesting.
13% of people say Mother's Day. So Mother's Day ahead of 4th of July. Easter ahead of 4th of July. So it goes Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Easter, and coming in at number 5 is Mother's Day, which I think is shocking. 4th of July at 12% is right there. So you got 13%, 12%, 12%, 12%. So it's right there. And then there's a big drop off to Valentine's Day.
Okay, good. That should be, that is the worst, objectively. Because it's just like, okay, we're going to have a date night tonight. But I do think some of it is definitely based on personal family traditions. I don't have a specific 4th of July one. I'm assuming there's many listeners out there who every year they go to the lake and they ride the boat and they do this. So, like, I could see why you would hold that in higher regard. I just think that you probably have akin to 6 different, 7, 8 different opportunities to have something similar to 4th of July throughout the summer.
I hear you. I disagree. I mean, I like just like, hey, America, we're always told how terrible we are, how mean or bad or divisive, and everything just sucks. Let's just celebrate ourselves for a day, all right? Guilt-free, have that extra rib and candy, because trust me, I did, and just be happy to be where you're from for a day. And I was, and it was great, and I loved all the flags and wearing the red, white, and blue, and had my mustache out, which nothing is more Americana than a good old-fashioned mustache, invented in America. Of course, everybody knows that. I had a good weekend, and Roush, will you feel differently next year for the 4th of July, because it's the big 250, big dog. 250.
Maybe.
250. If you can't get excited for a big 250, then you really will never get that excited about 4th of July.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Like, but I don't think I'm going to do...
we got to hang out next 4th of July. I hate that you didn't have as fun as a weekend.
Well, typically we spend it with Brooke's family, because that's like their town picnic is that weekend. So, like, it usually has a little bit more juice because we'll see a lot of her friends that we don't get to see too often. But But either way, like some of it is just stuff that, minor annoyances. Like I actually hate people wearing not red, white, and blue, but
oh my heavens,
it is technically against the U.S. code for disrespecting the American flag. Like you're only supposed to wear it as a patch.
Well, technically,
yeah. I don't. It just annoys me. It's like you can do red, white, and blue, but like, do we need to have it just like a Jackson Pollock of stars and stripes all over the place?
More it's just the better.
It's just a little, that's where I'm at. Like I'm like, no, it's too tacky. Too tacky for me.
Heavens, we're coming from different places today, but that always makes really fun radio. I love that, though. I love that just like, hey, I know that you and I'm not talking to you specifically, Roush, although it may apply. Like, we may vote differently. We may not see eye to eye. You hate everything that I stand for. I hate everything you stand for. That's a good-looking American flag shirt you're wearing there. Hey, I like yours, too. Like, it's just for that one day. It's kind of nice to be able to put that stuff aside. And I know that even in the most miserable of places and the most miserable of people, you can find, I'm not celebrating the colonizer's country, blah, blah, blah. You'll find jerks and people that just can't be happy with any of it. But USA, baby. We're number one. Not in the Gold Cup, unfortunately. We may get into that a little bit. But when it comes to celebrating your independence, it doesn't get too much better. And yes, 250 next year. Roush, we may not make it to 300. Like, I hope we do. I hope that we're around for America's 300th birthday. But this may be the big one for us, the big 250 next year. Trump has already said they're just going to absolutely ball out. They're going to be doing different ceremonies and celebrations, and it's going to be a year-long celebration. But next year's 4th of July, the 250th birthday of our great country, it's going to be lit. If you thought that we took off an unnecessary day, July 3rd, this past week, oh, goodness gracious. Pretty much all of July, I think we're just going to take off and celebrate our great country. Don't get on people for wearing red, white, and blue and the stars and stripes, all right?
No, it's just, I love a good tacky shirt. I draw a line there. Maybe it's a personal thing for me, but once I found that out, I'm like, not going to do it. Like, I have a shirt of a cat who has an Uncle Sam hat on. He's riding a bomb pop.
Amazing shirt.
It's a great shirt, yeah. And it doesn't technically have the flag on it. So, like, all right, that checks out. That works for me.
I like this. This is like where you kind of draw the line.
It's a very nuanced but silly thing. And I actually found it out. I didn't know this until speaking with someone in the military. Because, like, that's, you're not supposed to be doing that. Although, I'll make an exception for one thing, and that is the American flag banana hammock. If you're willing to go out and wear a Speedo, and it's got an American flag on it, you rock the hell out of that, buddy. You rock the hell out of it.
I like it. All right, I liked this weekend, obviously. I like hearing from you on the Game Day Men's Health text line. You're going to like feeling better after just your one visit to Game Day Men's Health. Game Day Men's Health is redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts. Just results, testosterone, peptides, weight loss, sexual performance therapy. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Defining a new era in men's health. You're not going to wait around all day. They're not going to say, all right, we're going to get your test done, but we need you to hang out in the lobby for 2 or 3 hours while we figure this stuff out. No, about 15 minutes, Game Day Men's Health is going to get you back up and feeling good and telling you what you need to do to make you feel good for the rest of your life.
I could use some Game Day Men's Health to get some pep in my step. Long day yesterday. We're going to talk about quarterback Matt Ponatowski's decision. But after the long day, you kind of want to wind down. And then baby just was like, no, you need to stay awake for another hour or so, buddy.
Oh, no.
So, I hadn't had one of those. Like, I felt hungover when I woke up, and I didn't have a drop of alcohol.
I felt that way on Sunday morning, but it was because we were just up till like midnight, which is late for me these days. And I was like, oh my gosh, kind of feel hungover, but I didn't have any alcohol or drink anything. I know that feeling.
Yeah, you're just like, wow, what is going on?
I was talking to a buddy, one of my best friends, and he was like, all right, you gotta fill me in on the no drinking thing. Like, why are you doing it? What's up? And I just gave him the whole, like, the rigmarole of, like, I normally take off January and February, and then just this year, just trying something different, trying something new. But getting into it with him, I was like, to be honest with you, though, like, the hangovers with 2 kids, that was enough to get me to quit on its own. Like, it makes it easier just not having to feel like that anymore, because I just couldn't manage. And not like, I'm not talking about like I would get so blackout drunk and then at 7 I'm just talking about like, getting a little tipsy. Yeah. And then you'd wake up the next day and just be like, damn, I've got to be a dad to these kids and I feel miserable. Like I just can't do it. So that made the decision to stop drinking for the year even easier. But Roush, I can relate, even just not a good night's sleep, let alone an actual hangover. So yeah, Sunday wasn't kind to you?
Today, to Monday. So if I'm being a little bit of a curmudgeon, my apologies. But no, I'm not. I'm excited. It was still a solid weekend. Like I said, we had a nice pool party. Got to see a lot of family over the weekend. My sister came up. We had a party for my cousin. He's getting married. Went to one of your favorite local establishments in Lennytown.
What's up, Joe's?
Yeah, that was actually my first time ever being there. Somehow, I don't know how. Yeah,
you've never gone?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's weird, right? Like my cousin's backyard for the longest time was Joe's. So like the fact that I just never went over there made no sense. Loved the casual horse racing talk with the guys who had programs at the bar area.
Yes. Yeah. Well, good.
So it was a good weekend.
I need a Joe's review from Roush.
Yeah. So we just we're a little sluggish. 4th of July, fine, but it was like any other fine long weekend, and I got another long weekend built up before Atlanta SEC Media Days. 1 week from today, talking season officially starts. So that means college football. It's right around the corner. We're getting closer. So much closer.
I can't wait. So much to talk about on today's show. This is Kentucky Roll Call. Nick Roush, TJ Walker recapping your holiday freedom weekend, and the Cats are free to ball out on the football field and the baseball field. We'll talk to you about that when we return. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
Sunrise with Scoots.
Maybe you all can help me make sense of this first ever NBA 17 trade. I don't get it.
Welcome back. Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio. Get those texts into the Game Day Men's Health text line. 502-414-1450 is how you get in touch with the show. We are streaming, so if you want to talk there as well on the YouTube stream, just search for Big X Sports Radio or Kentucky Roll Call. Watch the stream there and join us. We've got John on the stream, Patrick on the stream talking. We love hearing from folks there as well. Nick Roush, you did have a busy Sunday.
Yep. Can I just say, too, I'm trying not to be Scrooge McDuck over here. Top Gun Maverick, that movie makes me fired up to be American. And I watched that one night, and I was just like, die, woo!
A really good movie.
USA. Oh, I mean, just start to finish. Just delivers the goods.
Yeah. It's a good movie. That'll get you in the holiday spirit for sure. And getting commitments will get you excited for football. Maybe not this upcoming season, but maybe so. I'm getting the itch in a big way. It's always around this time of the year. It's only going to grow as the season goes, Roush. I'll be talking myself into like 8 wins here in no time.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
But the future of UK, maybe not for 2025, looks brighter, though, with the commitment of Matt Ponatoski.
Matt Ponatoski, the 2 sports star, number 14 shortstop, number 14 player, a shortstop, and a pitcher who can throw 97 miles an hour. He bats .462. He's pretty good. Pretty good, and he also is a top 10 quarterback in the class, according to On3. Number 100 overall, 9th-ranked quarterback in the country. A guy with he has that 97 mile per hour, and he has the fastball. And there's been a few different ways I've heard people describe him. You know, and it's hard for me to be able to accurately say this while watching him, but he just has a great feel for the game, and he's only scratching the surface. This is a guy who knows where to go with the football, who can fit it in tight windows. That doesn't. Everything seems to slow down for this kid. And he's a guy who spent most of his time not focusing on football. There was a lot of questions like, well, you know, he looks pretty good at some of these summer camps. Like, he just finally started going to them last year. They're like, you know, he looks pretty good. He's a baseball player, so, like, how good can he be if he's not doing it full time? And then he went out and had 58 touchdowns and only 3 picks at Archbishop Moeller, 4,200 yards. It's one of the most prolific programs in the state of Ohio. They were 14-2, lost in the Division I state championship game. In the semifinals, TJ, he had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns at half. He is a ball player who can change the game with a flick of the wrist. And I there's just so many reasons to get excited about this kid. Gatorade Player of the Year in Ohio in football and baseball as a junior. As a junior, he's still got another year to improve, to get better. We saw him at the Elite 11. On3 tabbed him as the most accurate quarterback out there. He won the Pro Day competition. It's a 3-day event. He won day 2 of the event, was the best quarterback out there. So there's a lot to love about what Matt Ponatoski brings to Kentucky. You got to tip your cap to Bush Hamden for getting it done. There was a time, Mr. Sports Talker, where Adam Luckett and I were worried. Like, hey, you know, you could have got this kid when he was under the radar a year ago, but you kind of slow played it, and then Alabama and Oregon came creeping in. But ultimately, Kentucky, they were able to turn the right levels, push the right knobs to get it done. And you also got to give a lot of credit to Nick Mingione, because Kentucky isn't getting this kid committed if they aren't also successful on the diamond as well. You followed up 3 straight postseason appearances, College World Series 2 years ago. He wants to play with the best of the best, and he can do both at the University of Kentucky.
Very exciting stuff. And I another tip of the cap to you, because it really was. I don't know if it was April. You first brought him up, and when you first brought him up, you were like, hey, there's a kid that is interested in Kentucky. I think Kentucky really needs to prioritize him. And I think a week later, I was like, hey, Roush, I need an update on that quarterback from Cincinnati you mentioned. And you had a very negative tone. You're like, yeah, you know, Alabama and Oregon are after him.
Yeah.
And I think Kentucky could have been in a good spot, but they were dragging their feet, and I don't know what was going on. You kept us in the loop with this recruitment in the entirety of at least the last few months. And sure enough, UK gets their guy. And it worked out, and I do think it was a bit beneficial for UK. First for starters, just a geography standpoint. If this dude is born in California, he's not even considering Kentucky, not an option. However, the closest big-time college football program to him is the University of Kentucky. The closest SEC program, obviously, is UK. They benefited greatly from just where this kid is being raised and where he's playing his football. But more importantly, Alabama got its quarterback. Oregon got its quarterback. Starting to look at his biggest, or UK's biggest competitions in his recruitment. Well, only one quarterback can play at a time, and the schools that he was most interested in, they've already gotten their guy. So almost by process of elimination, and we're not too proud. We can call a spade a spade. Kentucky may have lucked into this commitment.
No, to a degree, definitely.
Sure, and I will take it. We'll take anything that we can get in the world of football.
And some of it is the baseball aspect. That plays a role in it as well, with some of the other schools maybe being a little like, do we want to go all in with a guy who doesn't want to spend all of his time playing quarterback, that sort of deal? So that played a role as well. But ultimately, I think it can be a good thing for UK, because the negative of him playing baseball is also the positive about his potential in the future. Because if you hear him talk about both sports, he says baseball comes pretty naturally to him. He doesn't, it's not that he says I don't have to try, but it comes naturally to him, where quarterback he has to really work at. So if you're looking at the glass the opposite way, you're saying, well, this guy could be an SEC starter, and this is just like right now where he's at. And right now where he's at, he's committed to UK. And I think the biggest story of it all, TJ, is just like, where were we when we talked about Kentucky football recruiting this time 1 month ago? It was bad. It was bleak. I want to say that the Marrow news broke on like June 9th. So like in that, you only had one commitment. You have one commitment, and then your lead recruiter leaves. It looked about as dire as it could have for this recruiting class for a long time. And that was the one thing Ali said. Like, they're going to end up getting some guys. But if you get this quarterback, like, that is the light at the end of the tunnel. That's how you make sure that you've got some star power in this class. Well, they've got star power in this class now. They've got some bona fide star power in this class where you can look around at some of the other pieces. And I wrote about it last night. Like, I like the four with them. I feel like at worst you've got some quality rotational pieces, some players that are going to start for you at some point. But, like, where's the star power? If you get a star quarterback and he ends up becoming the star quarterback, something that has not happened in the Mark Stoops era, then it is a huge, huge coup, best recruiting class you've ever had, because that's the hardest position. And the other part that's nice, too, I know there's a lot of different directions you can have this conversation about it. You can have well, is he going to go to the Major League Baseball draft, or can he actually do both? The other one is, what does it mean for Cutter Bowley? Like, you need to have more than one good quarterback in your room, because what happens when you have to break glass in case of emergency? You can't just bring Lynn Bowden in, right? Like, that guy isn't sitting on your roster to bail you out in the most unlikely fashion possible. You have to be able to stack up successful recruiting wins. And so, you know what? You got Cutter Bowley ready to start when this kid's a true freshman. Cutter Bowley doesn't work out, well, you've got a pretty quality prospect waiting as a true freshman, and then also a serviceable backup in Stone Saunders. So it's kind of weird, TJ. Kentucky is recruiting quarterbacks successfully. We're not used to this.
Well, they have recruited quarterbacks successfully, as in getting them to commit and get on campus. There's been quarterbacks that UK fans have been excited about.
Mac Jones.
In the Mark Stoops era.
There
you go. That's a good one, yes. But there have been quarterbacks that have committed and actually shown up to campus and received a UK football helmet. Mm-hmm. And those people have not worked out. It's not so much getting the commitment, Roush.
Right.
It's getting that commitment to turn into literally anything.
Yes, which is that's fair.
That's been an issue.
It's the biggest issue.
And here's an interesting caveat: like, nobody, we're not dum-dums. Well, we are, but no need to get into the details of why we're dum-dums. But nobody's saying that Matt Ponzikowski is going to come into Kentucky and be a superstar, be all SEC, be a top draft pick, or anything like that. We're not saying it, and we're not saying that he will be. It's worth getting excited about.
Mm-hmm.
But another challenge to this, like he could go to UK and end up stinking. He could end up going to UK getting hurt like Drew Barker, and you never really know exactly what kind of chops he had. But there's a different caveat to all this with the UK fans that feel like, we never get a good quarterback to work out. Sometimes they don't even make it to campus. Like, yes, there are plenty of reasons to be pessimistic. This one's an interesting twist because if you're worried about him not coming to campus, there's reason for that concern. Like, your fears are validated in this recruitment because he is an absolute stud baseball player who may end up deciding never to play football at the collegiate level and focusing strictly on baseball. You know more about the details going into this decision, but it doesn't help scornful UK fans that feel like, he may not even make it to campus. He'll just decommit and go somewhere else. If he does make it to campus, he's going to end up stinking. Stoops is going to ruin him. Roush, before we can even worry about all those things, he's going to have a big decision to make whether he's going to do the old pigskin or the old baseball skin.
That's going to be a conversation that we're going to revisit. I'm going to set the over-under at 25, and we're probably going to hit the over before the Major League Baseball draft ultimately comes around. So I forget what the exact pick number was. That Derek Terry threw out in his article in Batcat Central, because he spoke with the prep baseball scout who ranks, there's a big reason why he's ranked number 14 in the country. He compared him to another guy who got drafted, I believe, in the late first round. They got a $3.8 million signing bonus. That's a one-time signing bonus. He can make that at Kentucky, right?
Yes.
Like that's the biggest difference between having this conversation now versus 5 years ago. You can pay him that much now legally to play college sports. I think the other thing that is a great point as well that we went through with the Kentucky baseball team last year. Tyler Bell was a second-round pick. Second round. Ponatoski might be around there, and he just went to play baseball at UK.
Good point.
I don't think Tyler Bell is going to get paid as well as Matt Ponatoski is at UK. So, and the other part, too, we don't have to get inside of his brain, but, like, I don't think this kid is just ready to give up football to go grind it out in the high A's. Like, he's playing in front of bigger crowds at Moeller than he would play with in front of in the minor league baseball system. Jumping straight to that feels a little silly. This is where I stand right now on July 7th. Obviously, Bush Hammond could be a disaster, could be fired, and you got to hire a new offensive coordinator. Things can change.
We've been there.
Plenty of times. But I would say that just because he can get drafted in Major League Baseball doesn't mean that it's going to be better money situation than playing college football.
Good point.
That's just not the reality of the world we live in now.
It's a different time.
I want to, because Kyler Murray was the biggest one.
By the way, can I just say briefly that I love that he brings up Kyler Murray? I think that's so cool. Like, dream big, kid. That's awesome. And he wants to do the dual sport. He's saying all the right things right now. And he is saying, I'm going to have to weigh, I'm going to have to look at all that. It's going to be a big decision. He's saying all those things, but when he mentioned Kyler Murray, I was like, that's awesome. This kid is dreaming the big dream. And the only way you reach that is by going for it. So good on him.
Kyler Murray had a $4.66 million signing bonus when he was drafted, and he had to pay a lot of that signing bonus back. He was drafted 9th overall in the Major League Baseball draft by the A's. Went and played football and said, I'm good, because guess what his first deal was with the Cardinals? Guess what that was worth?
How much?
A lot more. $35 million and a $23 million signing bonus. He's on year 11 or year 7 with the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, ultimate, just like he's a good quarterback, good fantasy guy. Hadn't really done a whole lot though. Kind of weird career, but we don't have to get into that today. I did go through TJ and pull some of the athletes who competed in 2 sports at Kentucky. How many multi-sport stars come to mind for you? And I use that term loosely because most players that play multiple sports, you're really just good at one, and you try the other, and it doesn't work out. Maybe that'll be the case for Ponatoski. Maybe it won't. Maybe you can be a quality player in both. But do you have any that immediately come to mind?
Pookie Jones.
Pookie Jones.
I mean, that's probably it, honestly.
Triple option quarterback.
Like Tim Couch could have did
Yes.
not.
Yeah, that was Dennis Johnson, too, was planned on playing both, and Hal Mummy was like, no, you're not. I'm not letting you press in Rick Pitino's practices. You're playing football. There's one that when I was going through this list that really irritated me that I didn't think of right away. Shane Boyd.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fun stat in Shane Boyd's career. So, for the youngins who weren't around, Shane Boyd was the second stringer for Jared Lorenzen, who also played receiver. And then whenever Jared would tick off the coach, they would put Shane Boyd in, which happened quite often. Jared, quite the personality. So Shane Boyd, I think he got 1 year as a starter, but that year he ultimately ended up losing his job to Andre Woodson. So he kind of juggled duties back and forth, and then he also pitched for Coach Keith Madison. He had 13 passing touchdowns, 13 rushing touchdowns, and 1 receiving touchdown in his career. So that's just a fun little stat.
That is a fun little stat.
Yeah, you remember Jordan Anthony?
Yes.
He was he was going to be receiving star, track athlete, much better at track than receiver. I know that there was some folks over on the football facility who were irritated how often he would, in their eyes, use track as an excuse to just not go to practice. So if you're wondering why he didn't play for the football team, that's why. But he broke the UK freshman record, was an All-American. I just learned when I was doing this research, he won the 100-meter national championship this year at Arkansas, his third year of college. Next day said, I'm going pro in track. Sorry, Sam Pittman. I don't want to get tackled anymore.
Not a bad decision.
No, not a bad decision.
Yeah.
A couple more quick hitters, though. Derek Ramsey, Kentucky quarterback. He actually played for on the freshman team at UK, had 2 varsity games for Joe B. Hall. And Darrell Bishop.
Huh.
He was the first African-American to play on the Kentucky freshman basketball team. He was in 5 varsity basketball games before he switched to football. He still holds the career interceptions record with 14, most tackles ever by a defensive back with 348. One other one, obviously Wawa Jones. There was a different era, but he was an All-American in 2 sports, also played baseball, only player to have his jersey retired in football and basketball. 2 national championships and a gold medal with Adolph Rupp, and also starred for Bear Bryant. So played for some good coaches, was really talented. Wawa Jones. They don't make them like him anymore. Harlan's finest. 2 other quick names. Crazy stories from the past. Remember Rondell DeWalt?
I don't.
So Rondell DeWalt, I've tried finding evidence of this dunk, but his dunk in the Sweet 16 for Warren Central is considered the greatest dunk in Sweet 16 history, where he just like crammed on 3 people. Absolute filthy. The kind of stuff of legend that people talk about years and years on end. He was going to play both sports because his athleticism was unreal. I've determined it to be the most unbreakable record in the history of Kentucky football. He blocked 7 kicks in 11 games. 7 kicks in 11 games, including 2 in 1 game. They just couldn't stop this guy from blocking.
You're showing up on the scouting report at this point.
Yeah.
Like, kick it higher.
He is going to jump up and knock it down. He was going to play basketball, but he only lasted 1 semester at UK before I guess he just didn't go to class. So that was unfortunate. Ended up going to JUCO. Couldn't get back to the top ranks in college athletics. The other one, I did not know this, TJ, but we all loved Ravi Moss, right? Like he really embodied those Tubby teams because he was a scrappy walk-on who would come in and hit some big threes. I felt like Ravi Moss, the only shot he hit was a corner 3. But it always seemed to come at big moments as like the 8th, 9th man off the bench. Ravi, he almost walked on to the Kentucky football team.
Huh.
So the story goes is he said, you know what, I'll give football a try. He went to 2 spring practices and was like, screw this. I'm not doing this stuff.
I'll just stick with the old hoop ball.
Well, that was, so at the time it was you could play 5 years if you did an extra sport. So he had finished up his 4 years of basketball. And he was like, you know what, I'll just go make some money on this barnstorming tour. I'll sign some autographs. Well, 20 years ago, I guess this would have been like 05, 06, something like that. You couldn't do that and then try to play college sports. He changed his mind again over the summer and was like, you think if I pay that money back, they'll let me play football? The NCAA said, you're suspended 6 games, buddy, if you want to try to play football. And he was like, all right, well, then I'm not going to play football. So Robbie Moss, his Kentucky football
I know that.
career only lasted 2 practices. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Pretty lessons learned here today on Kentucky Roll Call. Hopefully Matt Ponatowski has a more prolific career in either one of the sports. Delightful film to watch, whether you're just turning on the Elite 11 highlights or his real highlights. There's one play, TJ, where he's rolling to his left under pressure, plants his foot, and drops it 45 yards downfield on a dime over the back of the defense. There's another where they call them hole shots, where you just got to hit it right in between the second and third layer of the defense before that safety gets there. And the timing on those throws, the way these scouts put it, too, is he throws a very catchable pass. He's just got a great feel for the game at such a young age, and his future's bright. You just hope that he can get to Kentucky and then reach his potential once he gets here, because if he does, he'll be one of the more unforgettable quarterbacks we've seen here in a long time.
Thing I like about his tape is I don't think he's going to wow you with arm strength. And Roush, if I'm like, I don't care so much about that. And I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me. You can be like, no, that dude can throw it 70 yards on his knees like Jamarcus Russell. Mm-hmm. I think what has gotten him to this level is his precision and his accuracy, which I love. Like that's great. That's stuff that you can't, like, you can coach, but you can't coach. Either you're an accurate passer or you're not an accurate passer. And you can get better at becoming more accurate, but if you're just somebody that struggles with that, you can't just snap your fingers and get it. Either you have it or you don't have it. He's an accurate passer. And that falls in line with number 2 for me. Seems like he just always makes the right decision. And Roush, normally I'd say, all right, well, he makes the right decision because it's the easy decision. He's playing against bums. He's going against just
not the case.
There's a clear talent difference between the teams that he's going against. Sometimes you'll see that at a St. X or a Trinity.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to kind of weigh that. That's not the case with him. He's going against some of the best high school competition in probably like a 5-state region.
The one play that I talked about him falling backwards and dropping a bombs against Princeton, which is just they send a guy to Ohio State every other year. Kentucky had 3 guys from Princeton on their roster at one point. Their star edge came from there.
He's smart. Seems like a smart kid. Between the years, it seems like he has it. How that translates over to a higher level, it's obviously impossible to say. But he's an accurate passer, and he makes good decisions. And Roush, we're running out of time here in hour number 1, but how do you see it playing out? Well, it's 2029. How did the Matt Ponatowski UK story, how did it unfold?
My guess is that he will play baseball for a year, maybe 2, but probably a starting quarterback by his second year at Kentucky, dips after 3 full years in Lexington.
So it ends well, is how you're predicting it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Above average. Maybe not the best core, but like if Bush Hamden can be above average, then Ponatowski is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC when it's all said and done. 3,000-yard passer. Haven't had one of those since Mike Hartline. Mike Hartline on campus now. Maybe we can help Ponatowski turn it around. We got to get to our hour number 1 break. Don't go anywhere. Hour number 2 coming up next.
Roush making you say yeah, like you're Usher and Little John and Ludacris. Woohoo!
This is Kentuckiana's only locally owned sports talk. The Big X, AM 1450 and 96.1 FM, WXVW Jeffersonville.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Get in touch with the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. You text it in. We'll read it on the air. I think we're going to do that right now. We may get into another thing or two before we do that. 502-414-1450 is that text line. If you are watching on YouTube, you can always see the fun pictures. Today, we've got this will be up there pretty much every day, I would imagine. The Big X Kickoff Golf Scramble, Friday, August 29th. Email bigxscramble@yahoo.com. We're still waiting on pricing, what it will cost your foursome. Last year, I want to say it was $120 for a foursome, so $40 a person. I could be wrong about that.
That's bad math.
40
a person.
Okay, no, it was 30 a person. Yeah, you're right.
It was only 30 a person? I thought it was 40 a person.
That may have been 2 years ago.
I think it was $40 bucks a person.
Regardless, you're looking around 30 to 40 bucks a person, somewhere in that ballpark. I can't imagine it'd be more than 50 a person.
I can't imagine you find any golf scramble that's cheaper than that.
And I would just guesstimate anywhere from 120 to 200 per foursome. I can't imagine it being more than that. Don't hold me to it. The fine folks at Elk Run have been great partners throughout this entire thing.
Fun golf course.
Waiting to hear back what the per foursome price is going to be. But we do know it's going to be August 29th at Elk Run. It's a lot of fun. Get started around 7:30 and get you ready for your long weekend. That's the next holiday, is the Big X Kickoff Golf Scramble. So hopefully you'll join us out there at Elk Run. On the YouTube page, if you're seeing that, you're also seeing a Bungalow Joe's. Roush, we're going to be out at Bungalow Joe's on Friday, which should be a lot of fun. Roush will be out of town, but I think Wildcat's tongue is going to be in the building for you.
The man behind the tongue.
Where is that, out there on Beulah Church Road?
Yes, I believe.
I've driven by it a lot. I know it's near the outer loop.
I don't remember if it's the Beulah Church Road or the Smyrna exit, but it's one of those two exits.
Bacon Bush.
Yeah, it's where they all collide right there. But great place. Like that's.
Can't wait.
It's not. I mean, to me, when I think of establishments that have been around the city for a long time, Gershels in St. Matthews, Hoops in the South End, Bungalow Joe's in Fern Creek. That's just. It's been there forever. My brother, he'd go out there many an NFL Sunday. Great place to watch a game. No games on Friday, but the roll call crew give you a good chance to go out there, save what they have to eat, get some cold drinks. Should be a great time.
We'll probably have some shenanigans going on out there. We're going to have a lot of fun at Bungalow Joe's on Friday. So plan your lunch out there on Friday, out at Bungalow Joe's. And always, we love seeing you all out there. But I was doing the AI graphic, Roush, to make hey, Bungalow Joe's will be out there Friday. And AI, they're just putting graphic designers out of biz. Except when you're too dumb like me to be able to figure this out, I was like, hey, I took the Bungalow Joe's graphic, I put it in the AI, and I said, hey, can you make it say Big X Sports Radio will be there live on Friday? Naturally, the first mock-up that they give you, like everything's spelled wrong, it's weird, different symbols, so you try to hone in on it and make it better. They eventually came up with one that was awesome. It had like a smiling and talking microphone. I even tweeted it out for a second. Bungalow Joe's Family Grill, Big X Sports Radio, live on Friday. And the microphone was smiling and it looks fun. Except when I went back and I about posted it on the YouTube page, like I said, I already tweeted it, had to delete it. Family Grill and Rub, not pub. AI changed it to Family Grill and Rub. This isn't Robert Kraft's remote location on Friday. It's the Family Grill and Pub, not the Family Grill and Rub, Roush. So AI will do those little, if you're not careful, we'll make these little changes. But we will be out there Friday. We do have a graphic that I think is spelled correctly and no misspelled words on it. So hopefully you'll join us out there on Friday. And thankful for the people that have already joined us on the text line, 502-414-1450. A texter said, so Soup's doing Mingione a favor by loaning him a scholarship and claiming him as a QB.
Partially, yeah. And I'm sure Soups is contributing a lot of the nil money. So in Mingione's case, too, it is a bit risky, but you're just like, I will take this awesome player no matter in what capacity I get him. So, yeah. It's a win-win for both, even though I doubt you're going to see either. If he's playing both, you're not going to get 100% of awesomeness that you would expect out of him. I think that's just kind of how it goes. But hell, who knows? Maybe we might have ourselves another Bo Jackson.
That'd be cool.
It'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm all for that if he wants to do that. Do you subscribe to the he needs to just focus on one sport if he wants to really be good at one sport?
I really like it now in high school. College, it's going to be hard. You know, especially, you know, what if they do have the chances there will be some offensive coordinator churn are high at some point. Is he going to have the time in spring practice to be able to learn that new system, et cetera, et cetera? So I would wonder too what would suit him best as a baseball player. Like which position would be the best for his football career? Because you would think a lot of them project him to be a shortstop at the next level because he's talented defensively and he's also a pretty darn good hitter. Bad 460, something like that. But you would think being a relief pitcher would be the easiest, where you just kind of, all right, he's good for a few innings, but it doesn't require a ton of work, because then he could still kind of do the football stuff. But then you wonder how much wear and tear does that put on the arm. So that's where I don't have all the complete answers, but would be great if it worked out, because we've seen some other guys who do it for a year. So the part of the reason why I guessed what I guessed is because Austin Simmons just did something similar at Ole Miss, where he's entering his third fall at Ole Miss. In his first one, he was a redshirt and he played baseball. His second one, he was the backup behind Jackson Dart, and he quit baseball. And then now he's going to be the starter in year 3. That feels like the most likely.
Okay. Yeah.
Just, based off of precedents elsewhere. I believe Jameis Winston was kind of similar in that he played for like a year or 2 before moving out. But for the most part, a lot of those guys, they just kind of dabble here and there, and then they might get drafted by Major League Baseball. Uncle Jeff, he got drafted. He played minor league baseball one summer while he was still at U of L for the Cleveland Indians back in the day.
How'd that go?
Fun enough. For the longest time, that was my like when I was a kid, I wore a Jeff Brom Indians ball cap. That was just the ball cap I had for, 5 years of my life. One of those hand-me-downs. It was just, that was my one baseball cap I wore all the time. Yeah, he did for like a year or 2 before being,
If any of my,
for a while.
There's probably an exception. There's probably an outlier some there. But if either of my girls or any of my nieces or nephews, if they ever wanted to play multiple sports, I would be their biggest advocate to do that. I think it's beneficial to play as many sports as you can, to learn as many rules and as many disciplines, and just take it all in while you still can, because there's going to be a day that you're not going to probably be able to do any of them. And maybe if you're very, very gifted and incredibly elite, maybe you'll get to do one of them moving forward. But I think it helps you. I think it's actually a benefit just to the development of a human, but especially to the development of a sports star. And in Matt Ponikoski's case, I think, all right, so you're a quarterback that is known for your decision-making and your accuracy, and you're playing baseball, that's great. Like, I think all these things kind of line up, where you're pitching, you have to be accurate, you have to make good decisions, you have to stay focused, you have to stay determined. One bad play, one bad pitch, it can cost your team the game. One bad throw can cost your team the game in football. I think there's actually a lot of parallels here.
Yeah.
That you can make a case.
And under pressure?
What if he throws out his arm or he ruins his arm? Yeah, injuries will stink in any sport. That will happen. But if anything, I think that's probably helping arm strength. If you're going to wear it out, maybe. Again, I'm not an expert on that stuff. But if you're talking about a pitcher and a thrower, you're going to want that arm to be strong, and I think that's helpful. So you're talking about accuracy, you're talking about precision. There's probably a scenario where maybe dual sport athletes, you're actually hurting yourself, or you're like, I have to build weight for this sport, but I need to be skinny and fast for this sport. I'm sure there could be some crossover where it just doesn't make sense. This is not one of them. I actually think that this is great for his development as an athlete in either sport, whichever one he ultimately decides to pursue for his biggest paychecks. But in the meantime, do both. Do as many as you can, as long as the coaches are going to be cool with it. And it sounds like, at least as of today, you don't have Stoops or Mingione trying to plant their flag and say, well, he's going to be a football player for us. He's not going to be doing both sports. It seems like they're at least all saying the right things, Roush, of, yeah, come on to Lexington, and we'll make it happen. I did like his quotes about, like, yeah, football or baseball, Lexington is where I need to be.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about his religious relationship and just it's not so much about the sports aspect of things. It's about the people that are in place there. So I hope this is a good story. I hope this dude ends up being a great quarterback, helping out the baseball program, and in 5 years we're talking about the legend of Matt Ponatowski.
It would be incredible. And the biggest thing for me, and when you mentioned it from the jump on playing all the sports early on, it's mental fatigue from one sport, the burnout rate. I mean, hell, I got burned out just playing 2 sports, period. And I was doing multiple. I was just, I was done with all that. Like it's been a grind. I'm good with it. The other part is the repetitive. My big galaxy brain theory is a lot of the Achilles injuries and especially the Tommy Johns. Tommy Johns are so prolific now among younger and younger kids when it used to be so rare. Is just repeated motion, overuse. You know, play something else in the off season. You don't have to play baseball 11 months out of the year.
Yeah,
should be good for you. So get out there, kids. Try to play them all if you're capable of doing it. Matt Ponatowski, he's certainly capable of doing it. Would Nick or TJ? Oh wait, text on's not loading up for me.
I got it.
Come on, Game Day Men's Health text on.
Would Nick or TJ have a bet with Rutherford? Who does better, Briggs Cherry or Matt Ponatowski over their career? Would you do a bet about who would be better?
No, because betting on a Jeff Brom quarterback to be better than a Mark Stoops quarterback, it would be, what, minus 400 odds that the Brom quarterback will turn out good? I mean, the coaching's a big part of it, too. With that being said, and I mean, most of Jeff's best quarterbacks have been no-star recruits. The kid they got this year from USC, Miller Moss, he's the highest-ranked recruit they ever had. Elijah Sindelar was getting outplayed by young Nathan Roush back in the day. And he was probably, I bet Sindelar's probably his best quarterback he's had. He's done a lot with inferior talent, whereas Kentucky, they seemingly are pretty good at getting guys who seem to be highly ranked, and then the offenses don't work out well for them. But from a purely prospect standpoint, part of the reason why this guy can get so excited is I have been looking at quarterbacks for 15 plus years, just trying to figure it out. I'm not a quarterback maestro. I'm not a quarterback wizard. I'm not my cousins. It's not my full-time job to be an ace at creating the best quarterback possible at the college level. But I watch them. I know good from bad, and I haven't seen Kentucky sign a kid this good. Because I think the biggest difference, TJ, well, what about Drew Barker? Well, what about Cutter Boley? Because those guys were all highly ranked at some point or another throughout their recruiting cycles. Drew Barker, he had all of the right tools, and he was great in the camps, and then he played for an 8-win team at a middling 4A school in Kentucky. Cutter Boley worked the part in the 7-on-7s, went to LCA and was fine, but threw a ton of picks. You would think, I mean, LCA is almost in state titles every other year. You would think if he was that good, he would just dominate. Ponatowski's dominating the best division of football in Ohio. So that he's doing it all, right? Like, this is the kind of, hell, Brian Brown was one of those. Michael Bush, like those guys, those multi-sport guys who dominate. That sort of athleticism, the ball player, that just doesn't, I can't say enough nice things about a kid who does all of that and does it to the highest of his abilities.
And go back to the texture, though. Briggs Cherry probably be very good for U of L. Do a lot of good things for them. But he's an Elite 11 quarterback.
It's got a lacrosse name, though. So
it is a terrible name.
Yeah.
No offense to all the Briggs out there. Cherry's a cool last name. I don't have any issues with Cherry being your last name. Just Briggs is tough.
Yeah.
That's okay, though.
I think of Vince Mara whenever he would call Justin Riggs.
You didn't get any phone calls from the little pup over the holiday weekend, did you?
Don't think so, no.
I'm actually making this much money, Roush. Our last phone conversation, I was wrong. I'm making this much money.
Oh, great segue to make fun of Louisville fans for 2 things.
Oh, my goodness.
One of them is not something we can talk a lot about, but it also just shows how stupid they are. Number 1 tight end in the state of Florida commits to U of L. What were those qualifiers again? The number 1 tight end in the state of Florida. Do you know what he's ranked in the state of Florida position rankings? Just
What?
overall state of Florida?
What is he?
78. He's like the number 32 tight end.
I'll take the 78th player in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's a good player.
Just the
Number one tight end in Florida is adding some totally unnecessary qualifiers. You're putting this kid on way too high of a pedestal. He's a high 3-star recruit. Fine win, but you don't have to. They're about to get some 4-star kid too today, but you just, come on, just chill out on those. The biggest one that we got to give him hell for, though.
yes.
They are celebrating a missed dunk like Allen Iverson just stepped over. And now I can't think of his name. The coach for the Sixers. No, you know who I'm talking about. That flamed out.
McNurse?
No. He
76ers?
He was the Sixers, then went to the Lakers. He coached LeBron. He might have been somewhere else. Ty Lue.
Okay.
Ty Lue. They're treating Mikael Brown's missed dunk like Ty Lue stepping over Iverson or MJ dunking on somebody. He missed a dunk. Yes, the picture. I will credit the one little account who just screen grabbed the picture of that guy jumping real high. That's a fun little deal. That's something you kind of try to sneak away with on the internet streets. You can't show the video of him missing the dunk and say, Mikael Brown catching bodies. No, you don't get to do that. We are not celebrating missed dunks. Did they celebrate all my missed dunks? No, I was made fun of. You should be making fun of Mikael Brown because he wasn't even the best player on his team, according to the people at Team USA. TJ, I change a lot of diapers, but I don't know if I've seen 4 diapers over the ones that the Louisville fans made because AJ DeBan still was MVP of the FIBA World Cup.
Wild stuff. Did the NCAA come up with these MVP awards? Because the conspiracy against Louisville continues.
Nike screwjob.
Everybody's out
Plastic
against
Adidas.
Louisville. Mikael Brown is awesome. He should have been the MVP. He had a great showing for the USA U19 team. AJ Despansa was phenomenal as well. UK's Jasper Johnson had a good showing. He wasn't in the MVP discussion, but he did a lot of really, really good things. U of L fans, time and time again, you tell on yourselves for just being complete and total dweebs. You have a great player. He's going to do awesome things for you. Why in the world can that not be enough for you dorks? Well, it's just never enough, Roush. Like, they couldn't even enjoy their star point guard beat up on terrible, terrible teams without having to bring everything back to Kentucky in one capacity or another.
Did you see Jasper Johnson miss a shot?
Our player's so much better. Let's pump the brakes here. Mikael Brown is a better basketball player today, July 7th, than Jasper Johnson is. I don't know if he will be in a year. Probably should be. My guess would be that he would be, but crazier things have happened. Jasper Johnson, if he would have gotten as many minutes, especially in some of those early games, as Mikael Brown did, if he got to shoot as many shots as Mikael Brown did, I don't know, maybe the numbers would be a little bit different. The reason Brown had the ball in his hands and was able to do those things is because, again, he's probably a better player right now. Why that can't be enough for U of L fans, I'll never know. But it's because you all listen to Deputy Doofus. That's your media member. That's who you all parrot. It's embarrassing, but that's how it goes.
Very, very funny weekend for them online.
Sure.
Just trying to be able to juggle having a good player. They're not used to having a good player. They don't know how to handle it. I think you should just say, hey, this is awesome.
This is awesome. He's going to be great. I can see what UK fans were so excited about with their freshman point guards back in the day. Cool. Instead, what they did, because they're just an embarrassing fan base, he's not going to win the championship, and then he's just using your university. He's going to get his payday, and he doesn't care about you, and then he's getting out. Remember that was their talking point? Mm-hmm. Was that like the people didn't care about their school?
Yeah, just because they were pros. And my thing, too, is like, yes, rivaling is fun, and taking shots here and there. It's good, clean fun. We're all here for it. Jasper Johnson shot better than 40% from 3 in this tournament.
That's cool. That's fun.
I don't know how. Yes, your guy is really good, but you can't just say that the other one is terrible because he's not. He shot 40% from 3. I think only 7 players had more attempts and a better percentage in that entire tournament.
I'm trying to just think of like shoe on the other foot. Let's say Kentucky had a player, let's just say Kentucky had a player that was in the conversation for an MVP. And then Louisville had a player that's on the same team, getting similar minutes, and that player shot over 40% from three, and me trying to, trash that player.
Yeah, you can't. You
just couldn't do it in good faith. You just couldn't do it in good faith. Now, you could say, hey, Jasper was really good, but ours was better. You could do that and have fun with it, right?
No,
they can't even bring themselves to do that.
To admit that Jasper Johnson is going to be a good college basketball player.
And Michael Brown and Jasper Johnson, granted, he shot over 40% from three against teams that have some people that may never play any level of professional basketball. They're going against bum teams. They're playing against Jordan, and you could probably find 5 dudes named Jordan in America that are better than the Jordanese national team. They're not good quality opponents they're going against. Even the Germany team they beat in the gold medal game, I watched that game, was not impressed whatsoever with the level of play.
Trailing with, 10 seconds left in the first quarter?
I did.
Tyrion Stokes came down and hit a shot.
I've got some Stokes takes as well for all this stuff. But they beat up on bad teams, what the United States should do in basketball. We invented the sport. We perfected it. That's what should happen. I'm not taking anything away against Michael Brown or against Jasper Johnson. I actually think there's a lot to like about Jasper. I've got some serious takes. That being said, Roush, we saw U of L fans, the Alan Thomas guy, just the same people on the internet that make an ass of themselves any chance. They have a chance.
That guy at least has some good jokes, so.
He'll have a rare good one.
Every once in a while he'll have a decent one. The one kid, the Pointer kid, he's the one who just has no idea how the internet works. There's a lot of them out there. He is really bad at it.
They made fools of themselves because Michael Brown was beating up the Israel national team, and they went crazy. Imagine if they had an Otega Owe who scored 18 straight points to beat an SEC team in a game. Imagine if they had that to hang their hat on.
No, beat an NCAA tournament team while going basically head-to-head with, was Fears the 6th pick in the draft?
Yes. Imagine, that's what Kentucky has coming back. Somebody who didn't do it against the 19-year-old, 18-year-old Jordanese national team. Otega Owe did it against a top 10 pick on the road against an SEC team in the most loaded conference, and that team went on to be a tournament team. That's who Otega Owe did it against. Grown-ass men, not against the U19. Michael Brown's going to be fine. He's going to be a really, really good player for U of L. But the point is, you all are embarrassing yourselves. Kentucky's got some dudes, too.
It was funny. It was funny because there isn't...
Jasper Johnson's like the 9th guy for UK.
You don't want to extrapolate too much from games against international competition, but to go back to that 40% threshold, I made this point right after roster building season. We were talking about questions about three-point shooting. That guy shoots 40% from three for UK. Money in the bank, Charlie, what you drink.
He's going to get a lot of open shots. He's gonna go,
and that's what you need him to do. Just be that guy who is a great three-point shooter, and then when teams close out at you hard, just go to the lane. And I'm glad that Kentucky isn't going to have to ask Jasper to be the superstar do-it-all guy, because I think that's asking too much. But can he be a plus role player? Of course. Of course. I don't think he's a star player right off the bat. Brown, there were signs early on that he could be one of their best freshmen, and I think if you're a Louisville fan, you saw that. You're saying, okay, well, he is going to be our star freshman. This is great to have a guy like that. But, geez, they can't help themselves.
They can't.
They're not used to seeing good basketball players play for their team.
We can't help ourselves when it comes to delicious Mexican food in this city, and that's why we find ourselves at Salsaritas frequently. They got 3 locations in the area, Middletown, St. Matthews, and they're out in Bullitt County right off I-65 in Shepherdsville. Download that Salsaritas app. You will save time, but more importantly, money. They give out free entrees, free chips and salsa, all sorts of freebies. And if you go there frequently enough, which you should be doing, you'll get rewards. Free entrees, I think one every 10 visits or something along those lines. Don't hold me to it. Just download the app, start getting your rewards today. And remember, you can download the Salsaritas app and do all your catering right there on that app. No party is too big or too small for Salsaritas. Wildly addictive chips, and they're generous with their portions. That's most important to me. I like it when you go there and they just load you up in front of you. It makes you feel special, and that's what Salsaritas is all about. 3 locations in Louisville. Download that Salsaritas app today. We've got one final segment, and your text into the Game Day Men's Health text line coming up next on Big X Sports Radio's Kentucky Roll Call.
Okay.
Hey, back at the party, I don't really like to boogie. I'ma put up in the way and try to meet a red bone. She do her Dougie and every girl hate it, but I'm thinking about escaping with her to head home with her. She got a friend, so it's a two-man.
Hey, I love Salsaritas. Why? Flame grilled meats, house-made chips, fresh-made salsas for fast
final segment of Kentucky Roll Call here in the Big X Sports Radio 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Nick Roush and TJ Walker hanging out with you after a holiday weekend where we mentioned the big recruiting news. There was some other recruiting news over the weekend, Mr. Sports Talker. Of all of the buried leads, there's no news drop that goes unnoticed quite like sharing news at 10:45 in the middle of fireworks on 4th of July. And that's what Jason Crow Sr. shared with Joe Tipton, that his son, Jason Crow Jr., has a decision date on July 18th. What'd you make of that?
Well, the timing of the announcement of an announcement, I don't really have a take on. I don't think that's probably the best in the world.
Oh, it made me mad. It made me want to be like, no, you're not announcing on July 18th. I would have, if I was Joe Tipton, I would have just put my phone on, what's that setting? Not airplane mode, but the do not disturb. Oh, yeah.
Give them the freedom fingers.
Didn't see that one.
Freedom fingers for the 4th of July. All right, so Jason Crow has thought to be a UK lock, not because Kentucky has a great pipeline to Inglewood, California. As a matter of fact, UK and California over the last decade plus hasn't been overly kind to the Cats. Yeah. There has been a player since Chuck Hayes from California that has been successful at UK, but not a many.
Was Shane Sharp a California kid too?
I know he's Canadian, right?
Well, I knew he played for that Canadian team, but I didn't know if his prep school was based out of California as well.
Knowing our luck, let's just go ahead and say
I mostly just remember the trio that worked out in COVID, the BJ Boston, Devin Askew crew.
Good times.
Yeah.
Great.
Johnny Juzang, that worked out well.
Johnny Juzang
UCLA.
Worked out great for UCLA, not so much for UK, unfortunately. But it is connection to UK staff. And not really so much even UK staff. One member of UK staff,
yes.
Roush. And that's why everybody thought, all right, well, this is going to be a lock for UK. Yep. Until you had the tweet over the weekend saying another SEC school potentially is the team to beat. And it made us wonder, Roush, is Jason Hart's connection here going to win out? UK assistant Jason Hart. Is his connection going to win out for Jason Crow? And apparently it's not, at least where things stand as of today. Missouri going to be dropping the bag for Jason Crow.
That's where it stands now, between now and the 18th, which is surprising because you just don't see Missouri mess around in a lot of these. When he teased it another SEC school as the front runner, not Kentucky, you thought, oh, so Cal's doing his Cal thing.
Yes.
But no, Missouri, which was surprising.
Lonzo Martin's got some chops.
The part that's always seemed weird about it is that a lot of Hart is wondering how long can you keep Hart on Mark Pope's staff. So even if you get Crow, what if Hart leaves after a year, and then so he would have 2 years, and then wherever the next school goes, then Crow and whatever other kids just follow him there. There's a lot of apprehension. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's kind of weird that we're not used to this, but it makes sense. You've got this star recruiter who's rising through the ranks, and you're just hoping to keep him as long as possible. Really, I don't know any other comp other than Liam Cohen for Kentucky football, and it's different.
So the rumors are that Jason Hart's going to leave after this year, right? Have you heard those rumors?
Yeah. That he would go elsewhere up the ranks, which I don't really know what that exactly means, because are we going to go be a head coach somewhere? Or what's going on?
Maybe that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. All I'll add is I like Jason Crow. I think he'd be a good addition to Mark Pope's offense if UK landed him.
Another lefty.
I'd get excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it does seem like 2026 is a pretty solid class, and Kentucky's got a lot of
options, especially at guard.
Mm-hmm.
Where between him, Owuzie, I know Kenny is probably going to end up at Louisville.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
He announced visits to Texas and Indiana, by the way. Tay Kenny did.
Okay.
So not UK or U of L. But
there are 5 shooting combo. There's 5 ball handlers that are in the top 15 in the country, and Kentucky seemingly is in on all of them to varying degrees. But they're going to be at least finalists, so you're in the mix with them. You need one. Just find the right one.
Yep. Yeah, panic meter hasn't even left the station for 2026 basketball recruiting, and really it hasn't just with Mark Pope being the coach. I think there was a couple times, Roush, where we need to see him do this or we need to see him do that. Every box he has checked, I think, from a transfer portal standpoint or a recruiting standpoint. Yeah, I guess maybe one of the boxes would be go get a great player from outside the state with no ties, no connections, no nothing. He'll do that. I'm not worried about Mark Pope's recruiting whatsoever. The Crow stuff is interesting, though. July 18th, so if UK is still sniffing around or if they want to make one last push, they've got time to do that. And he's been mentioned. He's been in the loop with when you're talking about UK's recruiting class for 2026. I think Anthony Thompson is probably the player most likely to be a Kentucky Wildcat if I were to guess. But UK has been mentioned with a ton of other names, including the number 1 player in the class, Tyron Stokes, who I really enjoyed watching play for USA U19. He's going to be a really fun college player wherever he ends up. That dude screams and flexes after every single dunk. Terrence Jones would be so jealous. He puts Terrence Jones to shame. I like that. If he goes to U of L or he goes to another team, Roush, I'll hate it. And I'll use it probably as a character flaw against him. However, if he goes to UK, I love his enthusiasm and his intensity. But Tyron Stokes, he'll be a fun piece for some coaching staff at the college level. Hope it's UK's. Very undersized big, but it doesn't really matter because at 6'7", he can still just bully bigs. And of course, he was going against USA or U19 competition, so you got to take that with a grain of salt as well.
One thing I loved about that, did you know in FIBA rules you get an assist if the guys make the free throws?
I like that.
Need that. Let's pad some assist stats.
That's good. Yeah, it's a smart decision.
We'd love to see it.
Love to see Stokes as a Wildcat. Texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line says, have you ever heard of Big Red Louie? He's a U of L writer who has his articles published on Google. He's the biggest U of L homer of all time, even more than Deputy Dumbass. I don't know if I'm familiar with Big Red Louie.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like I've seen some of the stuff, but it's not good. Not worth my time.
Doesn't move the needle for us.
Yeah.
Another texter says, you think Kentucky got Ponikowski because, and that's not wanting to load for me either.
They were the only school that agreed to allow him to play baseball and football. No.
I think other places did that.
Oregon and Bama wanted him to. Arkansas was in the hunt mostly because they're good at baseball. He wanted to go play baseball. It's more so a lot of the other schools were picking other quarterbacks. Mentioned it earlier. Alabama said, hey, come on over for an official visit. Hey, we're not so sure if this thing's going to work out, so we're going to take another guy. Same thing with Oregon and the Beavers kid. Kind of how it all ended up shaking out.
Hey, that worked out for Kentucky. I'm all right with it.
Whoa, a lot of questions here. Oh, that was a lot of questions for Scoots. Fellas, I love you guys, but I got to say, Scoots has you all beat when it comes to energy and enthusiasm coming back from break, beginning the shows. Scoots' intro music on top of insanely loud, good morning, has me wanting to quite literally run 500 miles an hour through a brick wall head first.
Well, don't do that. That'll get you hurt. Scoots brings the energy. His good mornings are great. I think the energy to start our show is similar. Now, coming back from the breaks, yes, I'll give Scoots the total nod there. He just screams most of the time. Come back! Does get your attention. If you're waking up or something like that, yeah, he does a good job.
I do love that Roman has figured out his way, because Roman is not just the way he speaks. He's not the highest energy guy, so you gotta crank it up a little bit when you start out, so that way when you get into normal talking voice, you're still at an acceptable pitch, tone level, etc.
I didn't get to, I only got to hear maybe about 5 minutes of Sunrise with Scoots today. I wonder what he had on the brain, what he had going on. His roommate Gil Something's up. Something's up.
Oh, no.
And people are probably just like, that sentence alone is like, well, you think something's up? I'm not talking about that. Or maybe I am. But Scoots told me that his roommate won thousands on the Indiana lottery, which, again, I hate, we're not a conspiracy radio show, Roush, so I hate doing this. But we've told the story about
But
how...
let me talk to you about the Epstein files.
Well, the funny thing about the Epstein file, they never even existed, right?
Wow.
Do you
The
see
binders.
Do you see the Epstein file in the room with you right now? That whole thing, that is nuts. Even my little brain has a tough time. Even the deepest, darkest conspiracy theories for that.
I didn't realize that they invited influencers to the White House to look at the binders. Like, look, this is the binder. We got the names.
That was so funny. You'd almost think that, like, Trump at different times is just trolling the people that supported him the hardest. That was months ago that they did the little Epstein binder thing, and those little people smirking, leaving the White House with their binders. We've got the goods on child rape. Woo-hoo-hoo, we've got it. You don't. We do. And then they went through the binders, and they were like, oh, it's everything that's already been made public. There's literally not one piece of news in these binders. We were made to look like fools.
Organized stuff.
And they were. And you have Pam Bondi be like, yes, we're going through the names, the victims, the list. And then today they come out and they're like, there actually is no list. You said you're going through a list. What? The whole Epstein stuff is wild. How did we get on that? Oh, conspiracy theories.
Yeah, on Scoots.
On Scoots, yes. Well, so people remember that Scoots has won the lottery before, like a big-time winner.
Yeah. 6 figures, I believe, were in his scratcher. This was probably 10-ish years ago when he was living in Florida. He got a membership to a spa, paid off all his debts, sat on the...
Ice, or the glass.
The glass, there we go.
Sat on the glass at hockey.
Yeah.
Just was living life. His roommate has now won the lottery. And Scoots had a family member that worked for the Indiana State Lottery. So Scoots said that he is riding with Gil multiple hours to go collect in on this lottery ticket.
Is that...
Why does Scoots have to go? I don't know. Mister, I'm too busy.
No time.
No time is now going to take a 6-hour round trip to go collect a lottery ticket winning. I don't know. So that's what he's got going on today. How did we get on Scoots in the first place?
It's the lottery.
Oh, his energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard not to be enthusiastic when you win the lottery or you have a friend win the lottery every other day. Begs us the bigger question, why did he never let the Big X Sports Radio lottery pool win the lottery?
Seriously, dude. We were in a lottery pool for more than a year.
Or did we get out too early? I don't know. But there's a lot of questions that we're going to be asking Scoots. Sunrise with Scoots, 7 a.m. tomorrow. How has one Scooter Dingus rigged the Hoosier lottery system? 7 a.m. tomorrow. He'll give you all the answers. At the end of the day, with how hot recruiting is currently going for football and nil, how big of a loss is Vince to the football program? I think it is a Plumlee Bro text.
They're definitely... I love just saying Vince was holding them back, but they were going to get commits regardless. Just the time of the year. Even though it is funny.
And you have predicted, you've said this, you said that there would be a new quarterback commit before we came back on the air after the 4th of July holiday. You nailed that. But you also did add that now things get quiet. Is that correct?
Yeah. There's other kids that officially visited last month who are going to announce in the next few weeks. They're probably all going elsewhere. Maybe Jesus and Cleats. Maybe they'll take him, but he'll probably end up at Virginia or West Virginia, I would assume. So right now, Kentucky's class, they've got 15 players. The rankings, they'll get adjusted shortly, but 14th or so in the SEC and like around 45 nationally. So not the most star-studded class, but they've got a star quarterback at the top, and I think a lot of quality players were. You look around and you say, okay, I see what this kid can be. Where they're not really just banking on, hey, this kid has to do X, Y, and Z to hit his potential. Bare minimum, this offensive guard is going to be a 1 or 2 year starter for Kentucky because he's a damn good run blocker. He fits the bill of what's successful at Kentucky. Same thing with their defensive linemen. These are the kind of players that are successful at Kentucky. Maybe not the highest ranked guys, but they'll be quality players for the Cats. So that's kind of where we stand for now. They'll reset the board in the fall. You would expect them to have their eyes on an edge, maybe another offensive tackle. But, yeah, there will be some other dominoes that change. I do think that 15 is a decent number to work from, TJ. You know, when you're getting 25, if you want to get 20 to 30 guys in the portal, you can't have 25 recruits from the high school ranks. So I would imagine, especially with the roster limits being readjusted, this year it's at 85. There might be a phasing in process to get to 105 and get all the walk-ons out of there. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but 15 feels like a good starting point before you add, maybe a handful more during the fall circuit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You having issues with the text line?
It's on a little slow. My brain, it just like in the middle of me talking, got down. Oh, we need to ask Stoops about that. Because if you remember, a year ago at SEC Media Days, that's when he started his whining tour. I think that was the first time that we talked to him after he did his whole Cat Spas interview, where I gotta spend all my time fundraising. Well, the House settlement's finalized. I'm fascinated to hear that's going to end up being the biggest talking point for these coaches next week is House settlement this, House settlement that. I hope we get Lane Kiffin to dunk on Hugh Freeze some more. Did you see that, TJ?
I did. I saw it, but I want you to. Can you explain it to our listeners? So, that I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, because that was what got Deputy Doofus on the whole. Rush, you getting his belly rub from Mark Stoops because he doesn't pay attention to real college football stories. And when I say real college football stories, it's Auburn message boards uncovering how many times Hugh Freeze has played golf in the last month while they were losing recruits. So, for whatever reason, I don't know why he just decided to go after Hugh Freeze, but on Sunday night, he quote tweeted a post from Freeze back in May when they won a Ryder Cup between teams at this golf course. I guess it's just his group of golf buddies playing a tournament in mid-May. Great job, Coach. Game is on fire. Oh, man. It's so good. So good. He landed the plane.
No.
He really did.
That's fun.
One other fun thing, TJ, this music isn't my cup of tea, but some of their songs are the best. I think of Paranoid is probably one of my favorites. But Ozzy Osbourne, did you see they had their farewell concert with Black Sabbath back in his hometown of Birmingham. First started back in '68, and he's recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And so he's found a way to combat the illness where he was healthy enough to put on one more show, so they wanted to do it big, but he's not really able to walk anymore. So they put him on stage in this giant leather throne with a bat from the back for this final show. It was the first time that the whole band had performed together in 20 years, and they did it in this stadium. I mean, there's 50,000 people there, and leading into the event, they had all of these huge bands showed up for this farewell tour. You had Guns N' Roses performed, Rage Against the Machine, Smashing Pumpkins. I think Steven Tyler from Aerosmith showed up. Travis Barker from Blink-182. They essentially said, let's have the biggest party ever for the people who created death metal for us. And they all got back together for one final concert. And it's not the one final concert because just as a money grab, Elton John, but it was a cool sort of salute for Ozzy Osbourne. One final time on stage while his health is failing him. Had one more in him. Shout out Vince Carter. Got one more in me. Very cool to see him get in that zone one last time, hit those notes, and deliver one for the fans. End of an era.
That is cool. I was looking at the pictures while you were talking. I think you did a good job detailing the chair, the bat, the what he was sitting on when he was performing.
I mean, it's a throne, and you wonder just how does a concert work when you're sitting? But it worked. They made it work.
I think that it's cool that he did this. I wish in life more people could kind of have goodbye. Like, that was probably a goodbye to Ozzy Osbourne to a certain degree. You wish that you could have more celebrations of life when the person is alive, just to let people know what they mean to them and all that fun stuff that you do there. And I think the natural, or at least mine, hearing you talk about it, the first thought that I had was, goodness gracious, how could it have sounded? He's not in good health. He's very, very old. Did they just force him up there? But then I remembered that it probably sounded very similar to how it sounded when he was at his healthiest, which was generally just not good. You can't really make out the words, right? Isn't that what the heavy metal rock is? Just yelling or screaming or making sounds? So it probably could be like it was brand spanking new.
It's almost like a wailing in a lot of instances.
Yes, and some people may say that you're being disrespectful, not to Ozzy Osbourne, but to rock metal music, in which case, yes, I am. It's terrible music. It's terrible music. But Ozzy did it better than anybody, and nobody can take that away from him. Did you watch the Osbournes? Were you an Osbourne watcher?
No. In part because it was hard to watch with all the beeps. I mean, that was a heavily bleeped show.
And that terrible accent.
Didn't they spoof it in one of the Austin Powers movies?
I think so.
I know they did the Jerry Springer scene, but I felt like Ozzy Osbourne showed up in Goldmember.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Then they had the one that their kids were bigger, right? But the girl was pretty unbearable. Like, just she was super like just really whiny. Yeah, I think that's okay. Good. I watched a little bit of it. Then Sharon, she was kind of the main character.
She's daytime talk show now for CBS. She's their big star for whatever they call that show.
Oh, I'm seeing on the Google that the daughter got engaged at that show.
Oh, nice.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not like Kelly to try to make things about her at something going on with her family. Another texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line. It's our buddy Wildcat Sung.
Mm-hmm.
In the next 5 years, is Matt Ponitowski more likely to play in a college football playoff game, a college World Series game, or Major League Baseball game? In the next 5 years.
Not Major League Baseball.
Say college World Series game, right?
Because they take a long time. Yeah, I think college World Series would be the most likely if you were to rank them. But, I mean, in theory, though, if he reaches his ceiling in football, Kentucky can be a 9-win football team and go to the college football playoff.
Even if he doesn't play football, Stoops will wander over to the baseball field and find a way to ruin him.
See, that's a fun way to get out your doubts.
Yeah.
And I totally get people trying to have doubts. I get it with the way things are going, but it's also the best bit of news this program's had in a while. I'm going to enjoy it and not just be a sourpuss about it.
Yes, that's a good outlook.
Yeah.
Unlike the way you started the show.
Oh, yeah. My 4th of July hating.
One texter says, Roush is an absolute communist. And that's true.
You know who's
that's true.
Not a communist, TJ?
Who's that?
Great American Scott Ruskin. He's the Coast Guard rescue swimmer that helped organize the efforts to save, 200 kids in the tragic flooding at Cape Mystic in Texas, which just horrible natural disaster. Just commend Mr. Ruskin for leading on his training, and I particularly enjoy guys like this who are just, this is their job. This is what they train for, and when people needed him, he delivered. So shout out to all the heroes who made it happen, and a big suck it to all of those who just want to grandstand from it. Like, this is awful. It's a natural disaster. You can't prevent all natural disasters. It's a disaster for a reason.
They're horrible people, but the people that go dive in to floodwaters and save people.
They're the best.
They're heroes.
And
They're great, and thankful that there were so many people that saved hundreds of lives in Texas, and we wish so badly that they could have saved more.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking on a holiday weekend. We'll pray for the souls that were lost, a lot of kids, too. Just terrible, terrible stuff, but there is good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There are heroes in the world, and those are the people we're celebrating, Roush.
And make us proud to be Americans.
Yep.
Even if we don't go out and watch fireworks on the 4th of July.
Well, some of us.
So, I'm just glad you came back with all your fingers, Mr. Sports Talker.
Absolutely.
Mission accomplished.
Everybody have a great Monday. We'll be back again tomorrow at noon. Sunrise with Scoots at 7 a.m. Running with Roman. I'm getting you all confused on the top. A lot of great local programming on Big X Sports Radio. Have a great day.
W230CK Jeffersonville.
When design is key to your landscape project, give Walnut Ridge Landscape and Design a call at 812-288-6691.